There is political excitement as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is about to announce that he will run for president as a third-party candidate. If such a thing happens, the foundations of the political world will be shaken. While waiting for this announcement, some Democrats and some in the media wore Chicken Little costumes and went around telling anyone who would listen, RFK Jr. if he runs third party. The sky will collapse for Biden and Democrats. The sky will fall. The sky may continue to fall on President Biden. But it's not because of Kennedy. That's because the majority of the country appears to be moving away from him. As shown by a recent Washington Post poll showing former President Trump with a 9-point lead. On the contrary, there is overwhelming evidence that Kennedy's independent run would ultimately take more votes from Trump than Biden. A recent article in Newsweek quotes Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk as arguing that Democrats' news of panic over independent Kennedy race was a strategy to hide the threat Kennedy would pose to Republican Party. Many more of the I don't trust the government brigade would vote for RFK Jr. if he was run as a Libertarian, Kirk emphasized. Regardless of whether he gets more votes than Trump or Biden, Kennedy a third-party candidate because of his growing populism, along with growing discontent with Trump and Biden, as well major candidate fatigue created by both, may be looking at Ross. That's a percentage of the vote well above Perot's 19% in 1992 or Teddy Roosevelt's 27% in 1912, when he was leading the third party. If he outperforms Roosevelt in picking key electoral states, election night could be very long and potentially historic. But how would it get to that point? Kennedy emphasized. There's a lot of support among Joe Rogan listeners and Jordan Peterson listeners. And what he's talking about in this video is that there has to be a different way. There's a lot of people, young people, who are very interested in what he's saying. For this, we can go back to the 2016 Trump campaign. One of the mistakes Trump and some of his closest advisors made regarding the 2016 election was believing that Trump's victory was about him. It was about the American people being pushed aside by the political elite. There were tens millions of at-risk Americans from across the political and socioeconomic spectrum who deeply believed that the entrenched institutions, both political parties, not only no longer heard their desperate cries for help, but no longer cared about them at all. Faced with this harsh reality, they decide to cast their lot with New York City's arrogant foreign businessman and hope for a miracle. Today, there are still tens millions of Americans who are disenfranchised and feel more abandoned than ever as their quality life deteriorates over the years. But now more young people are joining the ranks, believing that the two fossilized major parties no longer hear or see them.